Hello my lovelies, welcome to my little cottage by the sea, the place where I love to stitch and craft my way to a vintage inspired and sustainable lifestyle. It is a new year and that means for me some new sewing plans, and I have some new fabrics to show you, some of them from my stash but some of them new, and also some vague-ish definite sewing plans that I'm going to be working on in the first part of this beautiful new year 2024. It's a rather bumper amount of fabric and rather a lot of ideas. I've got my new mug, a Minnie Mouse mug that my kiddo got me for Christmas. So, cup of tea, loads of fabric, let's go. So, one of the things that I've really been thinking about over the last bit of last year is how I approach my sewing. Sewing has been the thing that I've done for my living for my whole adult life, more or less. Sewing related, teaching, production and whatever. And I'm in a very different place now. And my influences and inspirations, my aesthetic's still pretty much the same, but the way I want to approach things is slightly different. So I am adopting Dame Viv's mantra, buy less, choose well, use longer. Total misphrasing that right there, but you know what I mean. Sustainability is a huge part of what I do, and part of being sustainable is actually thinking about your process. It's not just where you get your fabrics, it's not just the amount that you sew or make or what you're consuming, it's your approach to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be working on some longer term projects that are sort of more like forever projects. I don't know if that is the phrase, but I'm going to use it. And the first thing on my list is to make a winter coat. I want to pattern cut and make a really beautiful coat based on these sort of 1950s, 1970s even concepts of a coat. So I know that I want a shawl collar, I know that I want a belt, I know that I want an option to have a kind of fuller skirt to the coat, but then I also want to be able to do this sort of Bieber 70s vibe with it. And I did some work for my lovely hula Hannah, and she paid me in fabric. I asked her to. She lives in Birmingham near all the fabulous fabric shops and the rag market, and I just gave her a list of things that I was looking for, and she came up trumps because she is a genius at fabric. So this is here, huge bag, leonsfabrics.co.uk, Leon's Barry's Fabric Superstore. This is where it's from. Actually the colours match my dress. How fabulous. It must be serendipitous. So I have this really incredible wool that I'm just going to wrangle noisily out of the bag. There you go. And it's a really fabulous soft wool. She did tell me what the composition was, but actually I really don't know. It's got a sort of cashmere-y, lovely texture to it, and there's plenty of it. I think she got me about 5 meters, so there's more than enough to do a sort of full skirted shawl collar, maybe with a faux fur that I can add on or take off, or maybe faux fur cuffs that I can add on or take off. And with any of the little scraps and so on, maybe I can make a Marlena beret to go with a pom-pom, rather than with like the little doobly what's it, doodle what, stalk. That is absolutely not what it's called. Can't remember, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to find a really lovely lining that I'm absolutely in love with. Probably like an oystery colour or very pale blush pink, because I do want to keep to my colour scheme as far as possible, even though actually when I look at my rail of clothes there's not really much of a colour scheme. So that is my first thing that I'm going to make, and I want it to be done by October, because that's really when you need to start wearing a winter coat. So that gives me plenty of time to take my time with this. And if you'd like to see the process, just comment below, because I can do some content about making coats if you like. Next up, I've shown you this fabric before, so apologies if some of these fabrics you will have seen before. Is this really lovely, it's looking kind of ready rusty, but actually it's very raspberry IRL. It's a cotton twill, and I bought this from Goldhawk Road to make some Lucille trousers by Gertie, which was a Patreon pattern, and I love that pattern. I love those trousers. I've got a black pair in twill that I made, and I wear them all the time. And I also made a blush pink pair, and I have to say I'm not reaching for those. I love the colour, I love the trousers, but somehow, maybe it's because of the sort of the texture of the fabric, maybe it's the colour. I'm wearing a pale colour on my lower half. Somehow I don't feel great in those. So I was wondering what to do with this instead. Now, with the black pair of Lucille trousers, I had enough of the twill left over to make a pencil skirt, and I wear that all the time, just with a polo neck, black polo neck. So I decided, when I was sorting through some patterns, because I'm having a big sort out and I'm probably going to sell loads of stuff, I had the Tilly and the Buttons Arielle skirt, really fabulous little design, and I really like the longer version. I've actually tweaked the pattern and made it longer. I really like the idea of making one of these in this sort of lovely colour with some statement buttons. And I know that whilst I don't really like wearing trousers that are a lighter colour on my bottom half, you learn new things all the time, I really like wearing skirts. So I don't generally wear trousers, but I will wear skirts and dresses. So I'm going to give this one a go, and I've bought this pattern years ago, never used it. Sustainability, actually use your resources and the things that that you have, because that's a sustainable way of doing things. Next up, and I absolutely can't remember if I have shown you this beautiful fabric before, but this is from the very lovely Missy Mop Fabrics. Nikki is a friend of mine based here in Hastings, just not far from me. Very dangerous when she has so many beautiful fabrics. I've been looking at these dresses by Lena Hoshek, who's a favourite designer of mine, and then also versions of this dress from sort of the 50s and going into the 70s. And I want to make just a fit and flare dress with a little pussy bow, a full squircle skirt. That is absolutely not what it is, a full circle skirt. And I just think in this really lovely viscose, and it's got these beautiful sort of blush pink and kind of creamy, can look a bit chartreusey in certain lights, paisley on it. I just think it would be a really beautiful dress. And I often make full circle things in heavier weight fabrics, so it would be really interesting to see the effect that this lighter weight fabric has. I've got quite a bit of this fabric. I think it was about £8 or £9 a metre, I can't remember, but she sold me the very last bit of it. But she has so many other beautiful fabrics that I'm sure if you head over to her website you'll find something similar. So I'm really looking forward to getting going with this one. I found this next fabric in a charity shop when I went treasure hunting before the festive season. It is a vintage fabric. I'm not sure how vintage it is. It's reasonably narrow. It could be sort of 80s. I don't think it's massively old. I don't think it's sort of coming from before the sort of 70s, 80s, but it is a kind of a dupe for a 40s fabric. So for this fabric, what I was thinking was making a version of this Vogue pattern. I think it's from sort of mid to later 1940s with that silhouette. It's got this really interesting drawstring design that I would really love to make. I actually really love both versions, and look at the styling of these beautiful ladies, and look at her little hat. So that is what I'm going to do with this, because I don't have a huge amount of this, a couple of meters. There's only a couple of pounds from the charity shop. Not that this is at all useful to me, but I'm really loving the sort of the accoutrement, the accessories that this lovely lady is wearing, and the gloves are very much something that I'm yearning for. And look at this cute little hat. And then I am thinking about maybe looking out for some green shoes to go with the green. So I'm thinking more, as I'm putting my sewing plans together, I'm very much thinking about how things are going together and planning outfits. And doing my wardrobe audit from my dressmaker's journal has been really helpful, because it's enabled me to do my list of like what I'm wearing, what I'm missing, so that certain items I might not wear so much, but if I have a kind of a single piece that I can make that would then kind of marry everything together into a more wearable outfit. So that's one of the things on my agenda. Not sure when I'm going to be doing these. I might crack through them really quickly, but anyway, I am excited about this one, and it's so pretty. I've definitely shown you this one before. This was given to me in a big load of vintage fabrics. It's a 1950s watercolour sort of twill. It's got that lovely ASMR swishy. There's a few meters of this. There's like a little label. So somebody had bought this originally from a charity shop, and it's got 192 inches length. I don't know what that is in centimeters. 36 inches wide, and it was £4 at the time. I am just going to be making a long sleeve version of this dress that I made for the summer, and I absolutely loved and wore all the time. Lovely swishy full circle skirt, got there in the end, dolman sleeves, and a little keyhole and a little bow to tie up. So I'm looking forward to making that, and I'm not sure if I'm going to line it. Maybe not. Probably just wear it over a petticoat, because that makes life very easy. So super excited to get making this one. It's a really easy make as well, that one, so watch out for that at some point in the not too distant future. As I've been doing my wardrobe audit, I have been really paying attention to the things that I reach for, that I wear all the time. And I probably have said this before, but those things, they're really worth making other versions in slightly different fabrics, or having a sort of a more glam version, a more day-to-day version. So with the Gertie Lucille trousers, I definitely know that the twill version, cotton version that I've got, that I wear all the time, are really a little bit more casual. They're quite slouchy, and especially as that fabric ages, it sort of loses its pristineness. So as part of the work that I did for my lovely friend Hula Hannah, and the fabrics that she got for me, so I've been working in my sketchbook. It's got a bat on it, and she sent me some lovely samples, and I've just stuck them in because I love her handwriting, and that she's sort of had in this little conversation with me. And I've drawn the Lucille trousers, and I've also drawn the Tilly and the Buttons Arielle skirt, because if I have enough of the fabric that I chose, and on this it says lady at the shop thinks this is the best one, so I just followed the lady at the shop's advice via Hannah, and Hannah sent me a rather large amount, far more I think than actually I asked for, of this, and it is an Italian wool mix. So there is some sort of synthetic in here, but it is incredibly beautiful. It is dry clean, so I think I'm going to be lining the like the top half of the trousers with something, just for sort of hygiene reasons, and I'm really looking forward to that. And if I've got enough left over, and I like that Arielle skirt that I'm going to make in the other sort of raspberry cotton, I will make a version in this wool as well to wear, and I'll line that one. I think it will be great styled up with blouses. One of the other things that I realised as I was doing my wardrobe auditing in my dressmaker's journal was that actually I don't tend to wear blouses that much. I really like making them, and I've got some lovely ones. So I'm hoping that having a couple of basic but really beautifully made and beautiful fabric pieces for my wardrobe, that's going to encourage more wear of the Liberty Tana Lawn 1940s blouses that I've made, and some of the other things that I've made and I just don't really reach for. And actually my off-duty uniform these days seems to be my pencil skirt or a full circle skirt, or those Gertie trousers, and a polo neck. And in England, polo neck is sort of like a turtleneck rather than that sports polo neck. I'm not sure if that's useful information. These next few fabrics are actually earmarked for a Patreon project. So my beautiful coven over at Tara Stitch Coven on Patreon voted for this dress, the Mrs. De Winter dress, and it was one of the dresses that I found in the Vogue 1937 pattern book, which there are videos, and I'll link everything and cards and all the gubbins that is necessary. And they voted for this one as the December project. So I have pattern cut that over there for them, and because of time and just how messy the end of last year got for me, and health and so on, and how I'm having to reorganise, reframe my life to deal with those ongoing issues, I'm actually going to make these dresses and probably do it as a YouTube project. So the pattern cutting's on Patreon. I'm going to sew these up on this particular occasion here. So the first fabric, and one of the things that I love about 30s 40s fashion and those sewing patterns is they always give you a sort of a day version and then an evening version, and that always really inspires me. Not that I tend to differentiate day and evening, I tend to just dress up dresses more for an evening event or occasion, on the very rare occasion that I actually go on those. So I have this really pretty vintagey, it's sort of a salmony vintage pink. It's a Florenza crepe that I got eons ago from Minerva. What I want to do is I want to do a decorative edging on this in a contrast thread. One of the things I loved in that sewing book was the way in which colours were used and contrasted, and that's something that really appeals to me. And I'm thinking about having a look at different colours that kind of clash but go with this one. So this will be a day version, and then I have this vintage black fabric that is just a little bit see-through, as you can see, and it's got this woven in stripe. So I'm going to do the evening version out of this, and there's loads of it. It's a vintage fabric that actually Hula Hannah gave me a long time ago, and then I'm going to line it in this vintage pink fabric, which also she gifted me or gave me in return for some work that I did for her. I also make these really lovely silk corsages, so I'm going to make a cleavage corsage, boob blossoms, and I'm going to make some of those to go and really recreate these looks. The one thing that I'm not entirely sure about is whether I do this sort of black and pink version as a full-length gown. I'm not going to get much wear out of that. I don't really reach for really long gowns, so I might make it an evening-y tea gown style instead. What do you think? Let me know. Should I do the long version? I suppose if I do the long version and I don't wear it, I can always take it up, but if I do the shorter version, I'm kind of at the short, and if I rue the day I made the decision, I can't do much about it. My final fabric, phew, is a fabric that I'm absolutely enchanted with. I can't even begin to tell you, and I've been thinking about what to do with it. Just before Christmas I went along to a really lovely little Christmas do shopping event put on by the knitwear designer Erica Knight and her daughter, and there was somebody there selling vintage fabrics and buttons, and I really must show you the buttons as well. Not that the buttons go with this at all, but I found this incredible floral fabric. It's got this lovely texture on it. It's sort of like bark cloth, and I'm pretty sure it's an upholstery fabric, but I like looking like a sofa. So what I'm going to do with this, I finally decided, is I'm going to make another of these dresses. So this is a version of my Vampire's Wife dress that I made in this really lovely vintage kitty fabric. I have worn this to every single thing that I have done, and at Christmas. Love this dress so much. So I'm going to take the time to make a really beautiful version in this, and I cannot wait. I am so excited. And then finally, just very quickly, the vintage buttons that I found. I have got loads of buttons, and I'm going to be having a big sort through them, but I very rarely have any buttons that I love. So I'm going to spend a bit of time this early part of 2024 sorting through le bouton and making sure that I've got sets and things that I'm really enjoying, so that they can go on the clothes that I am lovingly going to be working on in this wonderful new year. That was a rather epic amount of fabric, and I'm really excited to get going on everything. Things got a little bit erratic last year, what with stuff going on. I'm very pleased to say that I'm in a much better place now, and I'm really looking forward to sharing all of this with you. And I've got some wonderful content. I think it's wonderful anyway, and hopefully one or two of you will enjoy it too, and I'm really looking forward to sharing all of that with you. I hope that you've had an incredible start to 2024, and even if it's not been incredible, it's at least been loving, gentle and kind. Thank you so much, as always, for spending time with me in my little cottage by the sea, and I hope that wherever you are in the world, my lovelies, you're keeping really safe and well, and I shall see you very soon. Bye.